In my 15 years as a urologist and andrologist, I've learned that each patient who walks through my office door carries not only physical symptoms, but also a unique story of how they got there. The case of Mr. Robert, a 67-year-old gentleman I met on an autumn afternoon, is particularly significant in illustrating how small daily habits can profoundly impact our health. Robert came to the office after much insistence from his wife, Sarah. Like many other men I treat, he had normalized his symptoms for years, considering them just a natural part of aging. Sitting in front of me, with a look that mixed discomfort and resignation, he began to describe his routine, waking up 3 to 4 times during the night to use the bathroom, feeling a constant urge to urinate even with an almost empty bladder, and noticing a decrease in his urinary stream. "Doctor, this is normal, isn't it? After all, I'm not young anymore," he argued with a shy smile. This is a phrase I hear constantly in my office, and it always makes me reflect on how our society has normalized male discomfort related to prostate issues. As a doctor, I know that each ignored symptom is a lost opportunity for prevention and early treatment. I explained to Mr. Robert that while some changes are expected with aging, the degree of discomfort he was experiencing shouldn't be considered normal at any age. During our conversation, I learned more about his daily routine. Robert worked as an accountant, spending long hours sitting in front of a computer. His lunch usually consisted of quick, processed meals consumed while responding to emails. His water consumption was minimal. "I avoid drinking too much liquid so I don't have to go to the bathroom so often," he confessed, and physical exercise had become a distant memory from his younger years. As our consultation progressed, I realized that Robert's case was a perfect example of how seemingly harmless habits can accumulate over the years, creating a significant impact on prostate health. Every daily choice, from sitting posture to the amount of water consumed, contributed to his current condition. "Mr. Robert," I began, adjusting my glasses, "have you ever heard about how the prostate works and why it's so important for male health?" Given his negative response, I began an explanation that I make sure to share with all my patients. The prostate is a gland approximately the size of a walnut, located just below the bladder, surrounding the urethra, the canal that conducts urine out of the body. Its function is fundamental not only for urinary health, but also for reproductive function, producing part of the seminal fluid that protects and nourishes sperm. While explaining, I used an anatomical model on my desk to illustrate how the prostate's location makes it particularly sensitive to daily habits. Sedentary lifestyle, for example, impairs blood circulation in the pelvic region, potentially contributing to inflammation and prostate growth. Poor diet and dehydration can also significantly affect its function. I saw Robert's eyes widen when I mentioned that approximately 50% of men over 50 show some degree of prostate enlargement. But that doesn't mean they need to live with the uncomfortable symptoms he was experiencing. "The most important thing, Mr. Robert, is to understand that many of the problems you're facing can be minimized or even reversed with changes in your daily habits," I explained. At that moment, I noticed a subtle change in his posture. The initial resignation gave way to genuine interest, especially when I began detailing how small changes in his routine could make a big difference. The idea that he could regain control of his health seemed to awaken new hope in him. "Where do we start, doctor?" he asked, now leaning slightly forward in his chair, showing an engagement that wasn't present at the beginning of the consultation. This is always a question that fills me with optimism, as it represents the first step toward change. Mr. Roberts' question opened up space for one of the most important conversations I have with my patients: identifying daily habits that silently affect prostate health. As a doctor, I know that the first step towards any significant change is to deeply understand how our everyday actions impact our health. Taking my notepad, I began to draw a simple diagram that I frequently use to illustrate the connection between daily habits and prostate health. "You see, Mr. Robert, it's as if each habit were a small drop of water. In isolation, it may seem insignificant, but when accumulated over the years, these drops can create a considerable impact. First, we addressed the issue of sedentary behavior. I explained how spending long hours sitting, as he did in his work as an accountant, can significantly compromise blood circulation in the pelvic region. When we sit for prolonged periods, it's as if we're compressing a garden hose. Circulation is impaired, and this can contribute to inflammation and discomfort in the prostate area. Robert nodded, recognizing himself in this description. Sometimes I spend 5-6 hours without getting up from my chair, he confessed. I took this moment to introduce the first practical change, the 30-minute rule. Every half hour, we need to stand up, even if it's just for 2 minutes. It can be to get water, go to the bathroom, or simply stretch your legs. This simple movement already helps restore circulation. Next, we addressed the issue of diet. Excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods, rich in saturated fats and refined sugars, can promote inflammation throughout the body, including the prostate. I showed Robert a list of foods that are true allies of prostate health. Tomatoes rich in lycopene, pumpkin seeds with their essential zinc, cold water fish, a source of omega-3, and a variety of colorful fruits and vegetables full of antioxidants. But doctor, Robert interrupted, with the rush of everyday life, how am I going to manage to completely change my diet? I smiled, recognizing a common concern among my patients. We don't need to make a revolution overnight. We can start with small substitutions, swapping soda for water with lemon, including a portion of vegetables at lunch, opting for fruits as an afternoon snack. Hydration was our next topic. I explained that, although it may seem counterintuitive, drinking less water in an attempt to reduce bathroom visits actually worsens symptoms. The urine becomes more concentrated, which can irritate the bladder and urethra, as well as increase the risk of urinary tract infections. It's like trying to clean a house with a dry broom. We need enough water to properly wash our system. We established realistic goals to gradually increase water consumption, with the recommendation to concentrate liquid intake during the day and reduce it in the hours close to bedtime. The goal is not to overload your system, but to keep it adequately hydrated. Another fundamental aspect we addressed was chronic stress. Many of my patients don't realize how emotional tension can directly affect prostate health. Constant stress increases the production of inflammatory hormones in the body, potentially aggravating existing prostate problems. Mr. Robert, do you practice any stress reduction activities? I asked. He shook his head negatively. I don't even have time to think about that, doctor. This is a response I hear frequently, and it allows me to introduce the importance of creating spaces for self-care in the daily routine. I explained how simple activities like walking, deep breathing, or even an enjoyable hobby can help reduce stress and, consequently, benefit prostate health. It's like giving your body a moment of pause, allowing it to recover from daily wear and tear. As our conversation progressed, I noticed that Robert was beginning to make connections between his habits and the symptoms he had been experiencing. His eyes showed a growing understanding of how each daily choice had contributed to his current condition. In the weeks following our first consultation, I closely monitored Mr. Roberts' journey towards better prostate health. As a doctor, I know that the success of any treatment depends not only on the guidance provided, but primarily on how the patient incorporates it into their daily life. We established a gradual plan for changes, starting with simple adjustments to his office routine. Robert began using an app on his cell phone that reminded him to stand up every 30 minutes. At first, doctor, I thought these breaks would hinder my productivity, he reported in our follow-up consultation. But I realized that, on the contrary, these short intervals help me maintain focus and even improve my disposition. The hydration issue was addressed strategically. I provided a personalized schedule for fluid intake, concentrating consumption in the early hours of the day and gradually reducing it until early evening. Robert started keeping a water bottle on his desk, with markings indicating how much he should drink in each period of the day. The most surprising change, he shared, was noticing how the color of my urine has been getting clearer as the days go by. This is a simple but effective indicator that I always encourage my patients to observe. Clearer urine indicates adequate hydration, which contributes to the health of the urinary tract as a whole. In terms of diet, we worked with gradual substitutions. Sarah, Robert's wife, became a fundamental ally in this process. Together, they began to explore recipes that incorporated foods beneficial for the prostate. Industrialized snacks were replaced with fresh fruits and nuts. At lunch, the traditional packed lunch now included a generous portion of colorful vegetables. "You know, Doctor," Sarah commented during one of the consultations, "we discovered that cooking together has become a special moment in our day. Robert is even venturing into the kitchen." This type of family involvement is something I always encourage, as it makes the process of change more enjoyable and sustainable. The practice of physical activity was gradually introduced into his routine. We started with light 15-minute walks after dinner, which progressively increased in duration and intensity. "At first, I could barely walk around the block without getting out of breath," Robert confessed. "Now I'm walking for 40 minutes and have even started attending a neighborhood walking group." To address the stress issue, I suggested simple breathing techniques that could be practiced throughout the day. Robert discovered that these exercises were particularly useful during moments of higher pressure at work. "It's amazing how 3 deep breaths can make such a difference," he observed. We also implemented some changes in his work environment. With a letter from me, Robert obtained authorization to use a height-adjustable desk, which allowed him to alternate between working sitting and standing. Additionally, he reorganized his meeting schedules to include short breaks between them, avoiding long periods of sitting. An important aspect that I always emphasize with my patients is the need to maintain a symptom diary. Robert began to record daily the frequency of his bathroom visits, especially during the night, as well as any discomforts or changes he noticed. This record not only helped us monitor his progress, but also served as a source of motivation when he could visualize the improvements. "The most interesting thing," Robert shared during one of our consultations, "is how these changes have ended up influencing other areas of my life. My disposition has improved, my sleep is more peaceful, and even my work colleagues have commented that I seem more lively." As a healthcare professional, I know that each patient responds uniquely to habit changes. Therefore, we maintained a constant dialogue, adjusting recommendations as necessary. The key to success was not only in the changes themselves, but in how they were implemented, gradually, respecting individual pace and limitations. After 3 months of regular follow-up, the results of the changes in Mr. Roberts' life began to become increasingly evident. As a urologist, it's always gratifying to observe not only physical improvements, but also transformations in my patients' quality of life. In our reevaluation consultation, Robert arrived with a smile on his face and his symptom diary in hand. "Doctor, I need to show you something," he said, opening the notebook where he recorded his daily observations. The numbers didn't lie. Bathroom visits during the night had reduced from 4 or 5 times to just once, occasionally twice. The physical examination revealed a significant reduction in prostate sensitivity, and laboratory tests showed a decrease in inflammation markers. "It's impressive how small changes can bring such significant results," I commented, sharing the comparative results with him. One of the most notable aspects was the improvement in his sleep quality. "You know, Doctor," Sarah interjected during the consultation, "for the first time in years, Robert is managing to sleep for longer periods without needing to get up. This has made a huge difference in his mood and disposition during the day." The change in diet was also beginning to show its effects. Robert had lost a few pounds without this even being an initial goal. "Colleagues at the office started asking what my secret was," he recounted, laughing. "When I explain that it's just healthier eating and some walks, many are surprised by the simplicity." During our conversation, Robert shared how his new routines had positively influenced his work environment. He had organized a small group of colleagues who now also took active breaks during the workday. "We even created a daily step challenge among the team," he reported enthusiastically. "As a doctor, I know that one of the biggest challenges is not just implementing changes, but maintaining them in the long term. Therefore, I dedicated part of our consultation to discussing strategies for maintaining these new habits. The secret, I explained, lies in transforming these changes into a new normality, not just a temporary phase of treatment. Robert had developed a deeper understanding of the importance of self-care. Before, doctor, I saw these health issues as an inconvenience, something that disrupted my routine. Now, I understand that taking care of health is a fundamental part of my life, not an extra. A particularly positive aspect was how these changes affected his social circle. The walking group he frequented became an important source of support and motivation. "We've formed a real community," he explained. "We share experiences, healthy recipes, and encourage each other." Sarah also noticed significant changes in her husband's behavior regarding health. Before, it was a struggle to get him to come to the doctor. Now, he makes his own follow-up appointments and is always attentive to his body's signals. As part of our quarterly assessment, we conducted new imaging tests that confirmed a reduction in prostate volume and a significant improvement in urinary flow. These results, I explained to Robert, are concrete proof of how your commitment to changes is making a difference. During our conversation, Robert mentioned how he felt more confident talking about men's health with other men. I realized that many of my friends suffer from the same problems but are ashamed or afraid to seek help. Now I can share my experience and encourage them to take care of their health. This is one of the most significant transformations I observe in my patients. When they transition from passive recipients of medical care to active agents of their SETI, own health and multipliers of this knowledge in their communities. After 6 months of following up with Mr. Robert, it was time to reflect on the challenges faced and the strategies we developed to overcome them. As a specialist in men's health, I know that the path to lasting changes is rarely linear, and it's precisely the obstacles that teach us the most valuable lessons. In our 6-month evaluation consultation, Robert shared some of the difficulties he encountered along the process. "At the beginning, doctor, I confess I had moments of discouragement," he admitted. "Especially when traveling for work, maintaining the routine of healthy eating and exercise seemed almost impossible. This is a common concern among my patients, especially those who, like Robert, have professional commitments that frequently take them out of their comfort zone. Together, we developed specific strategies for these situations. The secret is not to seek perfection," I explained, "but to maintain consistency within the possibilities of each moment. For trips, we created a Plan B that included practical and viable options, simple exercises that could be done in the hotel room, healthier choices in restaurants, and ways to maintain hydration even on days full of meetings. I learned that having an alternative plan is as important as having an established routine," Robert commented. "One of the most significant challenges was dealing with social events and celebrations. Like many Americans, Robert's social life was closely tied to weekend barbecues and happy hours with work colleagues. At first, I felt like I was depriving myself of important moments," he confessed. The solution came through balance, learning to make conscious choices without socially isolating himself. Sarah, who continued to be a fundamental partner in this journey, developed healthier versions of traditional dishes for family gatherings. We discovered that it's possible to maintain our traditions and celebrations by adapting some recipes and being more conscious about portions, she explained. The work environment also presented its own challenges. Initially, some colleagues made jokes about his exercise breaks and his new water bottle always present. However, over time, the visible change in his disposition and well-being ended up inspiring others to follow his example. "The most interesting thing," Robert observed, "was realizing how people started to approach me for health advice. Even my boss, who has always been resistant to medical checkups, scheduled an appointment after we talked. As a healthcare professional, I know that one of the biggest challenges is maintaining motivation over time, especially when initial symptoms begin to improve. That's why I always work with my patients on identifying internal and external motivators that can sustain changes in the long term. For Robert, a powerful motivator was the improvement in his quality of life. It's not just about prostate symptoms, he reflected. It's about feeling more energetic, sleeping better, having more energy to play with my grandchildren. That's priceless. We also developed strategies for moments of relapse, which are natural in any process of change. The important thing, I emphasized, is not never to fail, but to know how to get back on track when it happens. Robert learned not to blame himself for occasional slip-ups, using them as learning opportunities. A crucial aspect was the creation of a support network. Besides family, Robert found support in his walking group and even created a small circle of friends at work who shared the same health goals. It's easier to maintain new habits when you're not alone on this journey, he observed. Technology also proved to be an important ally. Robert started using apps to monitor his hydration, record his physical activities, and track his sleep. At first I thought it would be complicated, but these tools made everything more tangible and measurable. As a doctor, one of the greatest satisfactions is seeing how changes in physical health also impact the emotional and social well-being of my patients. Robert had not only improved his prostate symptoms, but had become a living example of how small changes, when maintained consistently, can completely transform our quality of life. Upon completing 1 year of follow-up with Mr. Robert, our last consultation was a moment of celebration and deep reflection on the journey we had traveled. As a urologist, I have the privilege of witnessing not only the clinical evolution of my patients, but also their personal transformations and how these changes positively impact their lives and those of people around them. Doctor, Robert began our consultation with a serene smile. When I first entered this office, I never imagined that taking care of my prostate health would teach me so much about quality of life. This is a realization I often observe in my patients. The understanding that prostate health is intrinsically linked to overall well-being. The results of his latest tests confirmed the success of his journey. The prostate volume had stabilized, urinary flow was significantly better, and inflammatory markers had normalized. But beyond the numbers and measurements, it was the qualitative changes that stood out the most. Robert had become a true ambassador for men's health in his community. At work, he organized talks about men's health, inviting other healthcare professionals to speak about the importance of prevention. It's gratifying to see how other men have started to open up and seek help after hearing my story, he shared. His experience also had a significant impact on his family. His children, observing the positive changes in their father, began to adopt healthier habits. My oldest son, who was always resistant to medical checkups, finally scheduled his first urological consultation, Sarah recounted, proud. As a healthcare professional, I know that each successful case has the potential to create a multiplier effect in the community. Robert had become a living example of how it's possible to transform health through conscious daily choices, without giving up the pleasure of living. The most interesting thing, he reflected, is how it changed my perception of what it means to be healthy. It's not just about the absence of symptoms, but about how we feel about ourselves and our ability to fully enjoy life. In our final conversation, we discussed strategies for long-term maintenance of his new habits. The key, as I always emphasize, lies in consistency rather than perfection. Robert had learned to adapt his routines according to different life situations, always keeping the focus on balance and well-being. You know, doctor, he commented, I realize that taking care of health isn't a destination, but a continuous journey. Each day is a new opportunity to make better choices. This understanding is fundamental for the sustainability of habit changes. As a specialist in men's health, I see daily how many men still resist seeking medical help, normalizing symptoms that could be easily treated. Robert's story serves as a powerful reminder that it's never too late to start taking care of one's health. His habit changes not only improved his prostate health, but completely transformed his quality of life. From more restorative sleep to greater disposition for activities with family, every aspect of his life had been positively impacted. What impresses me the most, Sarah shared in our last consultation, is how Robert has become more present and participative in our family life. It's as if we've recovered a part of him that was dormant. For me, as a healthcare professional, Cases like Robert's reinforce the importance of a holistic approach in treating prostate problems. It's not just about treating symptoms, but about promoting a complete transformation in lifestyle that benefits not only the patient, but their entire network of relationships. Robert left my office that day not just as a success story, but as a living example of how small changes, when maintained with consistency and determination, can create waves of transformation that extend far beyond individual health. As I watched him leave, walking with renewed energy and purpose, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. This is why I became a doctor, to help people not just overcome illnesses, but to thrive and rediscover the joy of living. Robert's journey reminds us all that health is not just the absence of disease, but a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's about making conscious choices every day, not out of fear of illness, but out of a desire to live life to its fullest. As our final consultation came to an end, I shared with Robert a thought that I often share with my patients. Health is not everything, but without health, everything is nothing. His nod of understanding and the determination in his eyes told me that this was not the end of his journey, but rather a new beginning. In the days and weeks that followed, I found myself reflecting on Robert's case during my other consultations. His story became a powerful tool in motivating other patients, showing them that change is possible at any age and that the benefits extend far beyond the initial health concerns. As I continue my practice, I carry with me the lessons learned from Robert and countless other patients. Each story reinforces my belief in the power of preventive care, patient education, and the profound impact that small, consistent changes can have on overall health and quality of life. Robert's journey from a man resigned to his age-related symptoms to becoming an advocate for men's health in his community is a testament to the transformative power of taking charge of one's health. It serves as an inspiration not only to my other patients, but to me as a healthcare provider, reminding me of the profound impact we can have when we approach health holistically and with patience and dedication. As I close Robert's file, I feel a sense of completion, knowing that we've not just treated a condition, but we've changed a life. And in doing so, we've created a ripple effect that will continue to impact many others in ways we may never fully know.